Hi, guys. Cecile Edwards here of the Mommy Matters podcast. I have to tell you, if you have not heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Did I tell you that you can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership? It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download your Anchor app or go to Anchor FM, anchor.fm to get started. You will not be dissatisfied. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast, where Mommy Matters is a double entendre that states and declares that mommies matter, where we have conversations surrounding mommy matters, from conception to pregnancy to postpartum, mother and father wounds, dating, mindfulness and self-care, spirituality, parenting, discipline, legislation, money, and so much more. It is my hope and my prayer that the information that you gather here serves as a blueprint for generational and individual ascension. Enjoy.
Great.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast, where we talk about all things mommy. And today I have the pleasure of speaking to the amazing Amancaya from La Paz, Bolivia. And we're going to be talking about birthing as you please. So this is talking about birth. We've talked about postpartum. Now we're talking about the process of birth and trusting yourself as a woman. So I am looking forward to this podcast, this episode. As you know, I am Cecile Edwards, the creative director of mommyEvolve, and of course, the host of the Mommy Matters podcast. And I look forward to hearing your responses about this particular conversation. And of course, I want you to be able to support Amancaya on her process of creating this wonderful book. And we'll talk about it, we'll get into it, and the power and the purpose of it shortly. So before we do that, Amancaya, I would love for you to introduce yourself, to talk a little bit about yourself, so we know who you are.
Okay, so thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor. I'm in La Paz, Bolivia. I'm a birth artist. I'm writing the book Birth as You Please. It's a birth stories art book that gathers pregnancy portraits and birth stories of 21 women all over the world. And I am crowdfunding for it on Indiegogo. The campaign finishes in 3 days. On Sunday, it's the last day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and given that tomorrow is Mother's Day, I want to say to all mothers, Happy Mother's Day. And
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Happy Mother's Day. I say Happy Mother's Month because
Yes, it should be Happy Mother's Year,
Happy
actually.
Mother's Year. Okay. Because no one would exist if it were not for our graciousness
You're right.
of
Yes.
using our bodies and our spirits to cultivate these lives. But anywho, I could go on and on about that. So I think that it's so fascinating that you call yourself a birth artist and that you are self-taught. So you taught yourself. Mm-hmm.
I did. It was, I started really painting for myself. It was my need to express myself in an artistic manner, in a private artistic manner, and it has evolved through the years. I started around 23 years old, and I'm now 36. So yeah. Um, I guess I had influences, and I have always admired, people that could create. So I, for somehow, risked. I think you have to have a bit of to be brave to start something new when you're an adult, because we are taught to think that we learn everything when we are young, but I don't think the life is very long, so we can learn everything anytime, I guess.
I think that is such a powerful point. That is really something, and we have to continuously recreate ourselves because things change, our mindsets change, and we can't be and do the same things and shift our mind. Like, it just doesn't. It's not going to work.
Yeah,
Right. And I
exactly.
love that you are self-taught and that you carry that spirit and that confidence to be able to do what it is that you are doing in a manner that serves others, gives,
Mm-hmm.
creates, and you're not afraid to put that creation out there. I think that that's the analogy with birth, right? Like
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it's kind of birthing, like, yeah, it's the thing is, it was a process, when I first started painting, I was always looking for good comments. Oh, now I don't need so much validation of what I'm doing. I feel
Mhm,
more, let's say, empowered in what I'm doing, and I find that what matters is that what the expression of it, not the end result, the whole process of creation.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Exactly. It's the process. And oftentimes we don't want to do the process. We just kind of want to go from beginning to end.
Yes, right.
But the lessons are in the process. What
Yes,
the information that you're going to use to empower you and whatever you're creating is in the process,
yes,
And so, sometimes some processes can be difficult. I get it. But I think that it's up to us to find ways to make things pleasurable.
yes.
So, what what inspired you to do such a project? What was your inspiration for this project?
For this particular project, so when I was pregnant myself, when I was carrying my baby in my body, I started painting and doing pregnancy portraits. I
Mhm.
used my art for myself, and then I felt it's a powerful tool of healing and of
Mm.
of connecting with your inside, because sometimes we can't express everything just with words. I think art is a great tool to take out what arises, and especially um, uh, during pregnancy and during even during birth and postpartum. There is a
Mhm.
lot of things coming to the surface. So I think art has um, is a great tool. So after I started 2 years ago painting pregnancy portraits of other women, and they would
Mm.
share their birth stories. And also, I was being certified to become a doula. So everything was around everything I did after becoming a mom was around that special moment of a birthing person, like of a woman's life. So I
Mhm.
started. So then I found that okay, I felt that it wasn't enough to just make the pregnancy portraits.
Mhm.
I felt that each woman has a story to say, and why not to put it all together in a book
Mhm.
and share it to the world?
Right.
Because the more I got into, like, when I came to Bolivia, back to Bolivia, because I was in Canada for some years,
Mhm.
um, I participated, in different circles of women,
Mhm.
and the issue of, there is a very high C-section rate.
Yes.
Um, so I find that there's a lot of obstetric violence,
Mhm.
intimidation, like, so there are themes that I would like to that women raise their voice and share to the world. That
Right.
I think, when we talk about women's rights, at least here in Bolivia, nobody talks about birthing rights.
Right.
So, uh, so I think it's something that needs attention, and another inspiration is to honor the mother,
Mhm.
through their birth stories and through birth story sharing and through art.
Right. Totally love that. process that you went through to get to where you are. And I totally agree with the idea that women have to, I mean, birth is such a vulnerable space. And so we have to be able to own that space for
Mhm.
ourselves. Nobody can know unless you have been through, and even for each woman, her particular pregnancy and delivery process is
Mhm.
different. It's all different. And
Exactly.
so it's so critical. It's like, who else can you listen to but the woman, the person who is giving birth?
Yes.
Who else can you listen to?
Yes. Exactly.
There's
So
no amount of studies, there's no amount of, expertise as a doctor. It's like almost like there's this attempt to control something that's uncontrollable. And I think that
yes.
that's what unfortunately many things are about, trying to control the human mind, trying to control the woman's body, and it's really, when you consider it, it's foolish. But this is what the world that we have lived in. But as you stated, things are unraveling. Women are starting to realize certain things about their bodies and about the birthing process. More doulas and midwives are coming back into circulation, which is helping, I believe, the rates of women who are experiencing birth traumas. And I think that that is how we know that the tides are turning and changing. And I love that you talked about before, in your country, there
Yes.
was a law passed where there can be this collaboration between the traditional ways of birthing and OBGYN ways of doing things. And so it's being welcomed into the country. When was that law passed, and how is the integration? Because we know that a law can be passed, but then the actual
Yes. It takes time for
You're right.
sure. So
Mm-hmm.
I have actually the little book of the law on my hands right now. It was passed on December 2013.
Uh-huh.
It's law 459,
Mm-hmm.
and it asks for collaboration of traditional healers. So that includes, the midwives and that collaboration through their practices um, with academic medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I attended this meeting
Mm-hmm.
at a small village here
Oh, are you still there? I'm not
the,
hearing you. Mm-hmm.
hello, can you
Yes,
hear
now I
me?
can hear you. Mm-hmm. Now I can hear you.
Okay, great.
So you were saying that you attended a meeting in a small village.
There was a presence of medical doctors from, and they put a case together to, as you said, to make it more real, because the law exists, but it only operates in specific places of Bolivia. In the city, it's not common to see, a traditional midwife in a hospital, but it's
Mhm.
more common. I mean, I found
I think that your
that
microphone is breaking up a lot. Maybe if you, yeah, turn the video down
yes,
off.
okay,
Okay, go
great.
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly now.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Mhm.
So, um, so I was saying that in the cities, it's not
Mhm.
very common to find a traditional midwife
Mhm.
in a hospital, but yes, you
Mhm.
can find them in the villages.
Mm, mhm.
But then the villages lack, the more. Um, there are not as many hospital. It's less, so it's complicated. But what there is so much wisdom, ancestral wisdom here in Bolivia,
Mhm.
that that what is encouraging is that the midwives have students under their wings,
Excellent.
so they
Mhm.
do pass. They're older but they do pass the knowledge on the next generation. So
Well, that's excellent. I think that that's critical. And I think that a lot of the knowledge, as you said, is ancestral wisdom. And a lot of things are really going to have to be you trusting yourself as a midwife, because I don't know that I know any midwives that don't have a certain level of internal trust, right? So
Yes.
it's like, it's I think one of the things that I've said and I continue to say is that, I also learned to be a postpartum doula, but I also have to be very careful that what I say and what I speak is really, um, going back to the mother and saying, well, how do you feel? And let's talk about how you feel and what I know and what we can negotiate that is done, because
Yes.
it's still a very personal process. And a lot of times, I've seen situations where the midwife was in tune and understood enough where they could say, all right, this is what you need to do. And the mother did it and she was fine. Right. But that
Mhm.
takes a lot of years and a lot of internal trust and a lot of connection to source, I think, in order to get that kind of information. So on one hand, I'm glad that this is growing, but on the other hand, we don't want a situation where the process is becoming commodified either, right?
Yes.
So, but I do love that, that ancestral wisdom is being shared.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you, first of all, you're still in the process of completing the book, or Birth as You Please, or have you completed it?
No, I'm in the process of completing it. It will be ready by February 2020.
Mm-hmm. And so in this book, you have 21 women
Mhm.
are at various stages of birthing, pregnant, just gave birth. Is that how it is?
Yes, some of them are pregnant, gave birth, or are mothers for many years, and they just recall their birth giving experience. So it will
Mm-hmm.
be very,
Full
it will be very
spectrum.
diverse.
Full spectrum, as they say.
Exactly, exactly, full spectrum because it, um, yeah.
Excellent.
So, mhm.
So in and of itself, it'll be a learning tool for women who are looking to have children, or, looking to have a different birthing experience with their next children or something like that, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Mhm.
And I want to, for instance, the title of the book is Birth as You Please, right?
Mhm.
So, so it refers to, okay, please could refer to pleasure, that of course, hopefully we all have pleasurable births, but sometimes it's not possible. So that's not my ideologies as
Mhm.
much as the title refers more to birth as you wish, as you choose. Because
Mm.
even if a woman chooses to use an epidural, or
Mhm.
to birth at home, or
Mhm.
to have a C-section because it's needed, but the point is that she makes a choice, the
Mhm.
final choice. So I am pro more, normal birth and natural birth, but
Mhm.
I also feel that it's important to acknowledge all birth giving experiences at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can certainly don't want women to feel like just because she had an epidural, or if she had to take pain meds, or if she had to get
Mm,
a C-section, that her birth is less valid. That's absolutely not the case. Um,
mhm.
but the promotion is for it to be natural, because that's the way that it has been done for a long time. And Lord
Yes.
knows what the situation is around when women have, because unfortunately doctors want to schedule things. Like I had a young woman who was going to have a baby, and the doctor wanted to do a I don't even remember what it's called, but it's something where they like sweep the cervix, because he wants the cervix to open up accelerated, in an accelerated time. And I'm like, that's so strange. Just let it happen. Right. And she's like, I don't want
They
to
want,
do it. Right.
yeah. What I'm feeling is that yes, we should, like, the woman shouldn't be the focus of, like, making them feel bad. But yes, there has to be more talks around, as you said, how much is the birthing process is respected, how much how many interests like the private doctors have, to
Mm-hmm.
do schedule C-section, and how much there is obstetric violence. Those are themes that I think um, mothers can gain, reclaim a little bit their, not just a little bit, but reclaim their rights how to birth, and without feeling shame of their
Mm-hmm.
birthing experience. For instance, I met this woman that she birthed both of her children with C-section.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but afterwards, she's now a doula here in La Paz, and she's an advocate of natural and normal birth.
Right.
So uh, that's how she empowers and she heals her process.
Yeah, there's always a niche in this. So, for example, for myself, I'm a plus size woman, and when I was giving birth, there was this whole, my doctors harassing me about being perhaps if I would get gestational diabetes and all this other stuff, and
Mhm.
I'm like, you all are harassing me because I'm overweight, not because you really think that I'm going. I don't have any signs of that. I'm
Yes,
completely healthy, but
yes.
you're harassing me and trying to fear me into taking all these tests and doing all this stuff, and I'm not doing it, and that's the bottom
Hmm, hmm.
line. And that's it.
Yes,
And if there was something wrong, I would know. And
yes.
I would inform you. And so this is a conversation, and it's not a you telling me. And I think that
Yes,
that's more so the mindset that women have to have. No one
yes.
has more knowledge than you do about what's going on in your body.
Hmm.
Right. And I
Exactly.
think that the history of the world, and I know definitely in this country, is that women have always been told how to consider and have a relationship with their bodies, whether through
Yes.
birthing, through the clothes that they wear, through,
Hmm.
so I think that this concept and this title of this book, Birth as You Please, is very powerful for that reason. Because it's like, do things as you please. That's it.
Yes.
So, what are some things that you learned through this project that you did not know before about the birthing process, about anything, about women, about your country and the laws?
Just to clarify again, I live in Bolivia because my the father of my son, my partner, is Bolivian, but my
Mm,
my original background is from Greece.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I live here. So yeah, I also consider it my country because I've lived here long time. But
Hmm.
so what I've learned, to answer your question, I think that what I also shared before, during the, it's such an important phase of a woman, being becoming a mother. It's like a
Hmm.
process that I feel that there is in some, before, women were in tribe, so
Mm,
they would support each other,
so
in their
critical.
in their small communities or their big communities. There was more of that. Nowadays, I think, thank God, there are doulas, but not everyone has access to doulas because sometimes, like, I couldn't afford the doula when I was pregnant.
Mm,
um, so I find that women need that. Mothers do need that
mhm,
tribe that is lost, especially in the cities, and some parts of the world are. It depends where you are as well. Which
mhm.
part of the world you are.
Absolutely, I
So
agree. That's why I
so I
became a
found
postpartum doula, by the way, because I wanted to be able to support women the way that I desire to be supported when I,
exactly
had a child.
with
But
your child.
yes.
Yes,
So you have
yeah.
two
I
different
guess,
perspectives. You have the Greek perspective and you have the Bolivian perspective and you have the Canadian perspective. So you have three
yeah.
perspectives. So that's great.
I mean, I have been living in different parts of the world, so that's why I want the book also to be, to not show the diversity, but also show the commonalities. Even though coming from different cultures, you
Mm-hmm.
are in the States, I'm in Bolivia, but we can
Mm-hmm.
communicate, and there are common themes
Mm-hmm.
to share and to talk about. So I
Exactly.
think creating and reclaiming reclaiming the community, that it was a natural thing before, but now it's I think it's lost, but there's always that need, so that's why we are out there trying our best.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. We certainly have to reclaim the communities that we existed in. And in order to do that, we have to let down a lot of these false concepts and ideals that we have picked up through, through the years. There's a lot of false concepts and ideals of things that, you know, if women don't want to work after having a child, it's like it's frowned upon. um, that a woman should do everything, even right after
Yes,
she has a baby, is like, this thing that people feel like she needs to do.
to be
It's
successful or whatever,
right
yes.
to have a career and be a mom and do. I'm like, that sounds exhausting.
And you know what I mean, like because my background profession, I have studied economics and business.
Ah,
Nothing
mhm,
to do, nothing to do with what I'm doing right now.
mhm,
And it's not that I'm rejecting it. I'm using some of the things I have learned, through in that project. But
mhm.
what my son is now 2 years old and a half, and he's with me most of the time. He goes to school three times a week for 3 hours, so that I can mm, put some energy and my energy on the project. But
Mhm.
for me, it was like, okay, I don't I I it's sacred, that the first years of, I preferred
Very
earning less than losing this time with my son.
right. And I think that that's a concept that people don't understand. I think, honestly, I believe that that up until in their formative years, what I call the early childhood years, from birth to about the age of 6, 7, that
Mm-hmm.
they really need to gain the family's wisdom and get a really good foundation,
Yes.
and then go off to be in school if that's what families choose. My daughter was homeschooled up until recently, and I
Okay.
still actually want to homeschool her. So I'm, working on some things so that I can get myself to the point where I can do that.
Yes.
And I think that that is discounted, and people, I don't know, in this country in particular, I hear people complain a lot about things like child support and things like that. And I'm like, I don't think that people really understand the process that it takes to raise a child. I think that it's so discounted, and it's so denigrated that,
It's being outsourced,
it's
basically.
being outsourced. But even with the outsourcing, you pay a lot for it because it is a serious process, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you don't pay a little bit. I don't know about in Bolivia or in Canada or in Greece, but in America, you pay a lot for childcare.
Yes. Actually, in
Expensive.
Canada, it depends where you are. Like in Montreal, it's quite affordable. In
Mm,
Toronto, it's very expensive. But I would tell everyone, even if I could afford it when I was in Toronto, I
mm,
wouldn't go for it.
right, right, right. Because again, your child is still learning someone else's way of being. They're not
Yes.
learning, do we value our family values and legacy, or are we valuing something else? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that was one of my things. I said, when I have another child, because I'm 37, so I still have some couple of years to kick another child out.
Yes.
When I have another child, like, I want to be able to stay home for
Yes.
a minimum of 5 years. But
Yes.
I'm also very clear. This is why women in business and entrepreneurship and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
enterprise, are very critical. And so I think you
Yes.
are using your background in economics and business with what you're doing now. You're merging them very well. Mhm.
Yes, let's hope everything goes
Yeah.
well.
Oh, it will. It absolutely will. And I want you to tell everyone about where they can go to contact you about contributing, donating, etc.
Okay, so they can enter Indiegogo and look for Birth as You Please
Hmm.
campaign, and there are different rewards I have created. There is a Mother's Day special as well, depending on the purchasing power of each person. everything is welcome. And of course, if someone finds themselves in the situation that they cannot contribute, they can just spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
And what else I wanted to share? That yeah, they can find me on Facebook as Amancaya Create as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It will be over on Sunday. I'm thinking of perhaps extending it 3 more days, just for the,
Mm-hmm.
if some people give a last chance,
Right.
perhaps till Wednesday. But I will be deciding that on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday. I will be, making it public, if it will actually be extending or not.
Absolutely. So that's through Indiegogo. Find the Birth as You Please, a fundraiser. And this is for women, by women, speaking from the mouth of women globally.
Mhm.
So this is a powerful project. And the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, I need to learn more and see, because these are the kinds of things that truly empower women to stand in their power, to um, rely on and understand themselves and one another, right?
Yes,
To get the
yes.
best for us as women and for our
Mhm.
families and for our communities. Because when we work for our families and communities. We do not just do it for ourselves, right?
And
So,
yes,
mhm.
and for our children,
Yep.
I think it's quite inspirational, and
Mhm.
it's actually funny at the same time, because my son looks at the pregnancy portraits and he knows,
Right.
all the taboos, or how babies are born,
Hmm.
can be explained through through an image.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's
Yeah,
how
so
we all get here. No one comes on this earth but through a woman.
yes,
So
exactly.
ensuring that she is pleased, that she is strong within herself, that she is loving of herself and trusting of herself is only going to ensure that those are the kinds of children that we raise. Um, and that's the bottom line. So, do you
Yes.
have any final words or anything else that you want to share?
I want to thank you once again for
Thank
your
you.
invitation, and thank you for your dedication to women and to mothers, and
Likewise. Mhm.
thank you for believing in the project.
Absolutely. Likewise, I always appreciate women who are standing in their truth and sharing that with other women and pulling other women up in the process. That is absolutely necessary and very powerful. So I want to thank you as well. So,
Yes, and thanks everyone for listening as
yes,
well.
thank you all for listening. And
Mhm.
please share this episode and share it with someone that you know, so that we can get the word out about what's going on in the world legally, spiritually, emotionally, everything that is happening, that
Yes,
is causing these changes to manifest. I'm so glad to be alive in a time such as this. And so, thank you all for listening, and please return to the next episode. See you all soon. Bye bye. Did you like that? I know it was as informative for you as it was for me. Look, this is a process for all of us. And to keep this process going, I would love to invite you to donate to our podcast. We want to continue to give you high-level content, beautiful content that enlightens and inspires and broadens your vision to elevate you and evolve. So please feel free to go to the podcast page at anchor.fm/Mommy Matters. We would love to hear your questions and comments as well, so that we can discuss them in future podcasts. And you can email that to mommyevolve@gmail.com. You can also visit the website and send your comments there, www.mommyevolve.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Peace and love.